one of the big stories that came out just in the last couple of days, and in a way it's an almost shameless display of an attempt at propaganda, is the story of Bruce Ivins, who's yet another scientist, suspected, or at least harassed by the FBI, in regards to the anthrax letters that were mailed out in the wake of 9/11, that put the nation into a state of fear, that helped motivate the Congress to pass the Patriot Act without even reading it. And as longtime listeners of the show and readers of the website whatreallyhappened.com know, there has been a great deal of evidence to suggest that the U.S. government is very much protecting the real creator of those anthrax letters. Now, before we get there, I want to go back and remind everybody that shortly after 9/11, Carl Cameron on Fox News did a 4-part series describing the largest foreign spy ring ever uncovered in the United States in our history, being run by Israel. And within that 4-part series on the Israeli spy ring was a very telling quote from a U.S. government official that evidence that linked the Mossad agents who were arrested on 9/11 itself. You remember them, the dancing Israelis, and they were cheering and screaming and videotaping as the planes came down and high-fiving each other in such an obvious display of joy that the people who saw them called the cops. Those guys who were arrested were later identified as Mossad. They were working for an Israeli moving company, was a front. The owner of that company abandoned his home and business and left for Israel like a day later. I mean, it doesn't get more obvious than that. Within Carl Cameron's story was this quote: evidence linking these arrested Israelis to 9/11 had been classified by the United States government. So we know that the U.S. government protects Israeli agents operating inside the United States. So this gets us back to the anthrax letters. Most of you probably remember that there was another scientist, Dr. Stephen Hatfill, who was fingered by Dr. Barbara Rosenberg as being the likely candidate for the anthrax letters. This was following the revelation that the anthrax used in the letters had come from a U.S. government lab, that it was our own weaponized anthrax that was used in these letters. So Dr. Stephen Hatfill was basically, his life was destroyed by the FBI. They publicly denounced him on TV. They said he was a person of interest, which is not a valid term. It's meaningless. You can't go into a court and say, I accuse him of being a person of interest. The judge will say, get out of here. This guy, that's a null term. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a signal to the media, go look at this person. Go pay attention over there. Pay no attention to this other man behind the curtain. Go look at Dr. Stephen Hatfill. They tore his life apart, trashed his home, were constantly searching, drained a pond near his home on this ludicrous idea that Hatfill had possibly built a submersible glove box platform with which to work with the anthrax, which is nonsense for anybody who knows about working with anhydrous particleized biological materials. So they did all this. Stephen Hatfill, bore up under it, survived, and eventually sued the U.S. government when it was obvious that he had nothing to do with the anthrax letters, and settled for $5.5 million. Okay. Apparently the FBI, embarrassed because they had not gotten the right guy, were going after this Bruce Ivins, and they were giving him the same treatment. Now, they did not expose him to the press because they didn't want him to come back and sue. But same thing. The FBI was constantly searching his property. They went into his home. They took his kid's iPod to make sure Osama bin Laden wasn't living inside there, and made his life a living hell, and apparently, it is claimed, drove him to suicide, although there is some doubt that it really was a suicide. And now that Bruce is dead and cannot defend himself, the media is saying this had to be the anthrax killer, and we can close the case and go away. Meanwhile, according to the Hartford Courant, the security systems at Fort Detrick and the biological weapons laboratory there actually caught somebody else going into that storage area where those anthrax, the anthrax strain that was used in the letters was kept, without authorization after being fired from his job over a racially motivated attack on an Egyptian co-worker. This man's name is Dr. Philip Zack, and to the best of anybody's knowledge, not only has he never been subjected to the kind of harassment that Ivins and Hatfield were, he's still working in the U.S. biological weapons establishment. Last I heard, he was out at Dugway Proving Ground.